From the beginning, the Trayvon Martin tragedy has been about one basic issue. How did a 17-year-old with iced tea and Skittles end up dead? And why was the man who killed him not arrested? Over the past 33 days, we've learned a lot, and we've tried to answer that question. But for some on the right, it's become a different issue. They're criticizing people like me for rushing to judgment. Here's Bill O'Reilly last night.
When it comes to the pundits, I'm angry about the rush to judgment. Accusations are enough to condemn folks. The press wants the story and doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. Allegations become front-page news, no matter how flimsy they are. No media observer knows exactly what happened the night Trayvon Martin was killed. Yet there they are, bloviating all over the place, exploiting the death of a young man.
Now, I've been on Bill O'Reilly's show, but he got this one all wrong. Then there's former Bush appointee turned conservative pundit Bill Bennett writing today about the media's, quote, rush to judgment with little regard for fairness, due process, or respect for the terrible death of a young man. Respect, what they need to understand, is not about a rush to judgment. It's exactly the opposite. We're not trying, I repeat, not trying to convict George Zimmerman. We are clearly trying to stop you from acquitting George Zimmerman. Let me be very clear. When Mr. Crump and the family called me and said that they wanted the man that killed their son and his client arrested because due process had not taken place, there was probable cause. We came in because we were asked to come in because there was a question of the civil rights of that young man was violated. That is not exploiting, answering people asking for help and out determining their right. There's probable cause here. There should have been an arrest. Now deal with the issue. Quit creating straw men and knocking them down. At least argue with us about what we're raising. Joining me now is Melissa Harris Perry, host of MSNBC Melissa Harris Perry, and in Los Angeles, John Mack, the legendary former president of the Los Angeles Urban League and a longtime civil rights activist. Great to have both of you with us. Yeah. John, what do you think the right is trying to do by shifting this conversation about Trayvon?
Well, I think they're frankly up to the same old habits. They're really trying to get us off the real issue. I would say, first of all, I applaud you and all the others. I think people have been very balanced and very fair in calling for justice. I think that we have a situation where there are many within the right who would like to pretend that race is no longer an issue. They'd like to pretend that a young African-American 17-year-old male who was shot down without any apparent justification, that was just an isolated incident that people shouldn't make a lot of noise about. I mean, I think you and others need to stay on the case. People just causing for a very simple thing. Here you have a situation, 17-year-old young man. You listen to those tapes, to that 911 call. It sounds as though Mr. Zimmerman was saying that he shouldn't have been there, and he, frankly, apprehended him when he was advised not to apprehend him. I don't think there's anything wrong whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I commend all of you who are demanding that at least he be arrested.
Now, Professor Perry, I mean, what's going on here? All week long, we've seen right-wing websites smearing Trayvon, pictures put out that isn't even really him, trying to make him look like a street thug. False pictures, I repeat, in some cases. Others act like he was a drug dealer, suspensions from school. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, let me just say this quickly. If he were a street thug, if he were suspended from school for drug use, which is not what it was residual murder, if all of those things were true, why would George Zimmerman have had a right to shoot him and kill him?
And that's the issue.
Right, so the things are not true, but even if they were true, why would that give Zimmerman the right to kill Trayvon? And I think, you know, you have said it repeatedly, I have said it repeatedly, everyone believes that George Zimmerman deserves a presumption of innocence and a vigorous defense and a jury of his peers. No one thinks that he should not have those things. And those are things that African Americans in this country have not had for most of American history. And yet, everyone who who's calling for justice in this case thinks he should have those things. So to be told that we are rushing to judgment, there is nothing that I would less like to do than to have to analyze the evidence associated with the Zimmerman and Martin case. I wish I'd never seen the Zimmerman and Martin case. I wish that the Sanford police had done their job. But when it doesn't, the third estate in the American democracy is American media. Our responsibility when we see a miscarriage of justice at this level is to use the only power we have. We cannot arrest George Zimmerman. What we can do is continue to make the injustice clear until someone who does have the power acts on it.
And John, you have headed the LA Urban League, a civil rights organization like one I'm affiliated with, National Action Network, or the NAACP, that's involved. People come to us when the system doesn't work to help to highlight the issue to get the system to work. And that is what this family did. They keep acting as if people are running in. When we got involved, there was no national issue. We had to help try to bring the nation's attention to the fact that this family deserved justice in terms of the probable cause and the arrest of George Zimmerman.
You're absolutely right. The reality is that when you're in a position of leadership in the civil rights movement, people come to us when there are injustices that have been inflicted upon them, or at least they feel that they have been inflicted upon them. And I think that there's another important point we need to make here. Were it not for the transparency, were it not for the light that was shined on this tragedy by the media and by leaders like you and others, I'm afraid that not only would we not have had an arrest, but it would have been swept under the rug, and it would have been a matter of business as usual. You know, one of the things that I find very troubling about this whole incident, you're right, is the way now they're trying to blame the victim and make this innocent victim the villain. And that's frankly an old game that, to your point about the right wing, that they play and have played over the years. And you and others in leadership positions, such as Mark Morial, among others, respond to our constituents when they call upon us. It's not about jumping in and running in trying to find an issue or cause to be on top of, just to be on television.
No, and you're right, and Mark Morial was down there with us again at the invitation. Let me say this. Let me show you, Professor Perry, as John was talking. Here are the pictures that they've been circulating of Trayvon. The one on the right trying to play, he was wearing gold teeth. Not even him. This is what has been circulating. Rush Limbaugh even went a step further. Forget just the media and civil rights leaders. Rush Limbaugh, still the most widely listened to radio host, plays this about the president.
Obama saying that if he had a son, it looked like Trayvon Martin, is simply a way to advance the liberal agenda, that there is blatant racial discrimination, that this country has not advanced beyond the days of slavery, that we are still immoral, unjust, and need to be transformed.
Well, you can see he's reached and trying to bring the president in and all kind of irrelevant stuff. They're circulating pictures. Some are him. That might have been him. Some are not him in terms of Trayvon. The fight goes on, but we're going to fight. John Mack, Melissa Harris Perry, thank you both for your time tonight, and have a great weekend. Be sure to catch